You're listening to the Blue Ray Show, the really cool Blue Ray Show. It's the Blue Ray Show, 'cause it's the Blue Ray Show, the one and only Blue Ray Show. It talks about Blu-rays, 'cause it's the Blue Ray Show. The Blue Ray Show. It talks about the Blue Ray Show. Wanna take a ride? Wanna take a cosmic trip of a lifetime to the journey of the center of your mind? Expanding out to the universe that all it is. Well, draw the shades, turn off the lights, put the kids to bed, bring in the dog, put out the cat, or bring in the cat and put out the dog, or bring them both in, and relax and let bodacious Bridget Rau and Shamanka and Natalie Alaya take you on a spiritual trip that you'll never forget. And here is bodacious Bridget Rau. Take it away, Bridget.
Rocken, Larry Locken here. Yes, no, it's not Bodacious Bridget Rau. Bodacious Bridget will hopefully be joining us soon. I've got Shamanka Natalie Alaya with me, though, and that's always a wonderful thing. Today we're going to talk about, oh, you're so welcome. Of course, you know, today we're going to talk about soul contracts. What are they? Are they valid? And what is the intention behind them? And besides that, we're just going to do a little free flow talk. So, Natalie, how are you doing all the way in Ireland, girl?
I'm doing really good. Winter has come. It's raining here, so we're back to our usual winter weather. We had a beautiful week here, and of sunny weather, very mild weather for Ireland. But it's back to winter and putting the fire on and getting cozy.
Truly walking in a winter wonderland. Exciting. Well, yeah, it's been raining here like crazy, actually. You know, we could use it. I don't remember the last time. It's actually been a few years where we've had a week of solid almost rain, and that's what we're coming upon here. So yes, it's nice and cold and cozy, and I'm looking forward to the seasons changing.
Oh yeah,
So
I
now,
love it. I like going in and snuggling up.
oh, me too. I sure wish I had somebody here to snuggle with me, though. Cliff
Aww.
Gooner's daughter. Anyway, these soul contracts, yeah, this is kind of an interesting topic. I know that we had touched on that. Well, I don't know if we touched on it, but we vaguely mentioned that at the end of our last show. And yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about this. I don't know a lot about them, but I don't think that there is too much to know as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it's more about like what you know, your own feeling, intuition, and stuff about it. I think can give you each of us is in a way a master of our own contracts.
Totally, I would
agree. Master of our own soul, so we know at a deep level what's going on.
No, I agree, and I think we talked about this a little in the pre-show. Where I get hung up on is the term contract. I almost think of the word contract as something that binds you or obligates you, and when I think of living in higher dimensions or in other realities, I kind of think that, you know, sometimes I don't associate a contract with something from a higher realm, but these could be from other lifetimes, these could be from parallel realities. It's really hard to say, but you see things such as toxic relationships that people are involved with over a long period.
Hello? Larry? We can't hear you. I assume you'll come back on. So yeah, so just to continue on until Larry gets back. These soul contracts, I do agree, Larry. I think they can be from parallel dimensions, and you know, maybe we don't even understand if it's a contract from a parallel dimension, that what we actually are bound to, and that's where we have to use our intuition, I feel, to kind of figure out like where that's happening, like what's happening within our energy field. I wanted to talk about soul groups before I got into the whole topic of soul. Oh, there you are, Larry.
Yeah, I cut out. I don't know. I went on this rambling rant, and I don't know which part I cut out at. But what I was, sorry, Natalie, what I was saying was I think that if people feel like they're binded to a soul contract with, whether they're in a relationship, or whatever kind of a deal or situation they're in, I think that, it would behoove one to really take a look at what is binding them to that, or what is obligating them to that scenario, and whether they have to still keep rolling with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the contracts, soul contracts can be, you can tell them by the patterns in your life. Do you have an issue with money? Is money always a problem with you? Because I think there's a lot of soul contracts that we have where we have contracted, let's say, to be poor or to have lack in our life.
I must have signed up on the dotted line for that one in big, bold ink letters. But yes, exactly.
Yeah, who talked me into this one? That's what you want to ask. It's like,
exactly.
Why did I sign this one? And that's why it's like really important to revoke these contracts in the end. And I think anyone can do it in their own way. It's always with intention. I followed Andrew Bartz's.
Yes.
He has the revocations, and Carolyn Miss has a lot of stuff about soul contracts. So people can look that stuff up if they want like a written, revocation. But I really do think anyone can do it yourself with your own words, and your own patterns, and say, okay, I don't want to have any contracts to do. I decree all contracts to do with lack to be null and void.
Yeah, I would like to make that intention here live on the Pleiadian Blue Ray Show. That I would like to put that intention out there. I null and void any contract that I made in a parallel reality or parallel
or any
timeline.
Dimension, time
or
or
any
reality or dimension that is related with lack, where you were, going to be contracted to have lack in your life.
Yes, lack sucks, and I decree any ties to any kind of binding towards lackness. There.
Done. Yeah.
Or like you were saying, bad relationships that you're involved with, right? It's kind of a pattern. It's a pattern that you can see from one relationship to the next. Some people, they find themselves in the same kind of situation, the same kind of
or
head.
to be the victim, their contract for whatever reason. And see, we don't know. Here's the thing about contracts, and I think that's what you were trying to say at the beginning, is like, why were they made?
Exactly.
We don't know the backstory. We only feel the effect of it and experience it.
Right, which makes for a real healthy mindset when you're involved with one of these, or have a feeling you are, but you have no idea the intricacies of what brought it on, or how it came about, or who's involved and what's involved with it. That certainly makes for a recipe for a
and that's where the internal work. What are your dreams? How do you feel about this stuff? That's going to give you more information. Or going to someone who can, like a reader or someone like that, a Akashic record reader, or I was going to say someone like Bridget or me can help you figure out what are your soul contracts. But internal reflection, you'll know when you've hit on a contract, and you'll also know when you've revoked it, because it should you should stop seeing that pattern or the effects of that contract in your life.
Yeah, that's a good point. It certainly couldn't hurt, and I know, like you said, yourself or Bridget or people that can handle that. Andrew Bartzis does a good job with that as well.
Yep.
And I really enjoy his work. You mentioned Carolyn as well. I was just looking at some of her work recently, and yeah, and God love people like that. This is really a subject that's talked about from time to time, but I'm sitting here, as I sit here, I realize that I really don't know, I guess, as much about it as I thought I did, or maybe I should. So, I'm hoping what will come from the show is that people will hear this and reflect on it a little bit in their own lives, and if we can put that into
their own investigations, become your own private eye about your own energy. Really investigate your own energy. It's the only way for us to evolve, I think, is to truly know ourselves very deeply and get rid. So I believe that the soul contracts are what they call retrogressive evolution.
Ooh, I like that. Retrogressive evolution.
They block our evolution. They block the evolution. They are binding. They are like chains, as I see them. And for whatever reason, we don't know the reason. It's beyond the veil, let's say, the reason.
Hmm.
But we can feel the reason, and we can understand that we have this contract and null and void it. Now, we were talking in the pre-show, me and Larry, about soul groups. And I was asking Larry, what does he feel about, like, so is there a soul contract with your soul group, and is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah, and my take on that is just my gut intuition feeling is that a soul group would be more so like a soul collective, more like a mutually maybe agreed upon thing, or just a mutual thing that
Not a
is.
contract. Yeah, exactly. It just
Yes.
is. It's like, or I was going to say ethos or tenant, maybe not a contract, but you're all aligned with the mission.
Yes.
And that's mission may be what's binding you, but it's not a contract unless it's your personal mission contract. What do you think about
Exactly.
that? If you didn't, do you think it's good to get rid of every single soul contract? What if some of your contracts are tied in with your mission? See, this is where it gets kind of.
Exactly, and what if there's something that really benefits you in this lifetime? And then, of course, you want to look at the fact: are you being greedy? Does it not benefit the other person that you made the contract with, if you even know who that is, or what that is?
Yeah, what being is that?
Yeah, exactly. Those dirty reptilians. No, but exactly. There's so much to really think about, and it goes back to going within again, doesn't it? I mean,
hmm
whatever resonates with you, and your per se said thought mission in your mind in this lifetime.
Yeah, and we have to. That my other thing with the social contracts that I think is why they block our evolution is if something is binding us, we're not able to adapt or shift to shifting circumstances, especially as we're ascending, shifting timelines. Like there may not, some a contract we may not want to bring with us into the fifth, or it's keeping us from fully, ascending into the fifth. We need to get rid of those. There probably are no contracts once we get to the fifth. So let's start getting rid of them. We can leave that baggage behind and not bring it with us.
Do you think too, Natalie, that these soul contracts you talked about, leaving them behind, and so we can ascend into the fifth dimension or whatnot? Do you think that maybe these soul contracts are the last barrier that's really keeping humanity down, and maybe this really is a subject that needs to completely come to the forefront, because it could be that you've got a planet full of people where the majority of the people sadly could be locked into these soul contracts, and
Mm-hmm.
they figure that once we even start to make headway with these soul contracts, then in comes all the head games of the intricacies that we've got to take care of and solve, or that we think we've got to take care of, when
True.
really it's just a matter of everybody focusing their intention on what's for the greater good. And if they don't feel like they should be binded by a soul contract, then they should make that intention to get rid of them,
Mm-hmm.
and taking a look at things in their life that are binding them down, like lack of abundance, like a terrible relationship after terrible relationship,
Mm-hmm.
pattern after pattern, caught in that constant time loop of doing the same thing over and over again, and doing what you've always done and getting what you've always gotten, and
Which is
things of that
what
nature.
is the effect, I think, of retrogressive evolution. It blocks you. You're stuck in the Groundhog's Day time loop warp. And it's actually keeping us backwards. So yeah, maybe it is the soul contracts are the last barrier that we need to break through to really get people to raise their vibration. You're like,
Retrogressive
yeah.
evolution. Yeah, I don't know where you got that term, if you came up with that through consciousness, but I
No, I've
definitely.
heard it from someone else, and I guess maybe it's in the book of Enoch or something like that.
Oh, okay, okay,
hmm
okay. It
The
could very
keys of
well
Enoch.
be.
Yeah.
But I do think this, on a side note, I think it's a phrase that needs to come back into the consciousness of people. So I think it would be good to have somewhere in this description of this show when we're done. So I just thought I'd throw that in, you know.
Okay, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because you know, evolving, the wonderful thing about evolution in a lot of ways is that like the caterpillar doesn't know that it's going to be a butterfly. We could be really amazing, you know. It could be
That's a
really
good point.
amazing, and we can't. You don't even have to imagine it because you know it's going to happen, and it's beyond our imagination.
Yeah, again, we're trying to imagine what it is with Earth,
With these
with
eyes,
3D
yeah,
filters. Yeah, with these
yeah,
eyes, yes.
and we can't imagine it, and um, that in a way I think has also been a fear because we can't imagine it. We're locked in. A lot of people feel like they have to be able to see something to understand it, to see a vision or understand. But this is something, evolution, I don't think we can understand it. But we got to take that leap and go for it and at least try.
Yeah, a lot of people want proof. We get that a lot,
Yeah,
don't we? Prove it. Prove it.
yeah,
Where's your proof?
yeah.
I want proof. And it's almost silly. It's almost silly at this point when I hear that said, whether it's, you know, somebody on YouTube on one of the posts or somebody in one of the Starseed groups say, I want proof, prove it. I don't know. I mean, that's a red flag for me when I hear somebody even use that word. I almost kind of laugh. Well,
Mm,
prove it. Where's your proof? How in the hell can you prove really any of this in 3D? I mean, you have UFOs flying all over the place, and people won't even, you know, people would have to look up at the sky to be able to see that, first of all. But even still, if they did, I mean, that's not even, that seems to me like that's almost not enough proof for people.
Oh yeah, and then people like when you know the recent fireball over California or
Hmm.
the mist test, which I love, and people just really I saw it on the social media because I was following it on YouTube and Google Plus and Facebook, and people were like, "It's a missile launch." They'll immediately accept the you know the military what it says, and I don't understand what their fear is. Like, why do they accept
Exactly.
that?
They will come up with any scenario. I mean, even more ridiculous. They'll buy anything, any more ridiculous explanation than that. It's
Hmm.
a,
It's a
I
missile
don't know.
test? I've never seen a missile. I've, you know, seen missile tests before. Never saw one look like that. Wouldn't it be a
No,
common sight?
exactly. But Natalie, hence where we need to be careful too, because these things are real. But then you see, you know, you've got world government entities on Earth that can mimic a lot of this stuff. You know, who's to say that it's not a big hologram just to kind of get in the people's heads
True,
and
like the Project Bluebeam.
exactly. So
Mm,
again, it comes back to that old cliche again about going, you know, of going within. But even
yeah.
still, whether it was the real deal or whether it was Project Bluebeam, the barrier that you first have to get through is people would actually. It's one thing for us to look up in the sky and see this, okay, or it's one thing for people of like mind to. But how do you get Joe Bob or Billy Sue or Becky Joe next door or down the street to get their head out of their own, well, you know what, for a second
Mind.
and look up at the
Ego.
sky?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you can get them to actually look up at the sky and they do see something like this, then you have the problem with, like we just talked about, you know, oh, it's this, it's that, it's a giant bird with coal miner lights strapped to its head.
A weather balloon.
It's a weather balloon. Yes, it's a Chinese lantern, ladies and gentlemen. Several of them left over from World War II floating over, finally making their way back into the atmosphere after decades and decades, you know?
Uh, yeah. Yeah, and they don't really like maybe understand, or they want to believe what the status quo is telling them. Why? Nothing they ever said. We can't trust them, the government. They've shown that time and again. So why do people trust it when they say, "Oh, it was a missile test"?
The own doubt
They're
in their
not
own
trustworthy.
stubborn minds, their own fear, you're right, their own
No,
fear,
their
their
own
own
fear.
stubbornness. Yeah.
They don't want to see what's actually happening around them.
No, and that's what it comes right back down to is they don't want to see what's going on around them. They want to stay stuck in their 9 to 5, their what's for dinner,
That's
who's going to be
retrogressive
on dancing.
evolution at its finest.
Exactly. You know, what am I going to have for dinner? What's going to be on
Mhm.
TV? Oh, gee, is Dancing with the Stars on tonight? Is whatever. Is the next presidential debate on tonight? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, is the ball game on? They're stuck in that mentality, and again, never living in that now moment, just always wondering what's around the corner. But then
So
when they get around the corner, it's what's around
what
the next corner.
for Billy Bob, what soul contract would Billy Bob like if you would imagine what kind of soul? So if Billy Bob is listening, we can help him get rid of his soul contracts. What soul contracts do you think Billy Bob would have that he needs to get rid of?
Billy Bob has a soul contract to be very skeptical of anything that's even right in front of his face and as obvious as the sunshine of day or the still and dead darkness of night.
So to
Billy
keep the
Bob,
status quo, to keep he may not even realize it, but the way that he may have a contract to keep the Illuminati and the people in position and power, to be,
yes.
a gatekeeper or whatever you want to call it type person.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And you know what? You hit it on the head. I'm sure that they don't the majority don't consciously know
They
that
don't.
that's what they're part
Yeah,
of. But by staying in that mentality, they're perpetuating this and
they sure
perpetuating
are.
it. You know, and it shows you the work that we've still got left to do because once you've even gotten people that are semi-awakened on board with this, you know, with this move, I hate saying that word movement, with this humanity stepping forward, then you've got the people that are going to come after that that are going to have questions that will seem like asking what 1 + 1 is to us.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They have a big hill to climb in terms of knowledge and understanding.
Yes, and we've got a lot of weight to bear to help pull the collective up that hill too. So,
Well, now going back to my other talk before the golden woven path right, that right when we're helping people go over to the fifth who are crossing over, they're going to help pull up the energy because it is heavy. You're right. We need more on the other side pulling.
yeah, so come on, people, wake up, get rid of
Yeah.
your soul contracts. Basically, to simplify it, make the intention to break ties from anything that's holding you back. And you know, you don't
And
have to
yeah,
necessarily
and
go into that specifically, but
well, that's a
anything that
good
does
thing.
not
Just
serve you.
general that does not serve you, and make it like in any dimension, any parallel life, any parallel universe. Cover all, like try to cover all where your energy you think it could be anywhere in this universe and other universes,
Yes.
because they're all tied together at some point, and maybe that's part of the soul group thing too. That we have some sort of like at the atomic quantum level, some sort of connection.
Exactly. And that just leads into, you know, there's so much to sort through, but I think that you're right. I think that it's important when making that intention to put that intention not just out there in your physical known realm here in 3D, but in your, you know, on every dimensional level, in every parallel reality or any previous lifetime or just anything in the cosmos, right? That may be binding you to
Hmm.
that, to these soul contracts. Make that intention that you want to clear and free those from any possible living realm within the existence of creation.
Yeah, because we are still connected. It is a warrior at heart.
Oh, truly.
Whether and not just in the negative sense, but in all senses. It's heavy energy, but I feel like most of us are here on a mission. We, but okay, so what is the mission of Billy Bob? Like going back to Billy Bob, our
Yeah,
example.
I had to bring up, well, good old Billy Bob.
Billy Bob, what's his mission? Like he has a mission too.
Ah, Lord, wouldn't we like to know? No, but
I
I,
know.
I,
I'm fascinated by it.
I, I think maybe Billy Bob signed up to put as much bullshit and clutter in our paths to make this as hard as possible, or for some
Okay.
kind of a lesson. I don't know. That and
And
definitely could
he
be
was
used for
tricked into
deception.
it. Again, it could have been presented to him when he was signing the contract
Yeah.
that he was doing something really good.
Exactly, exactly. It could have been, and it could be that these people are also holographic inserts put into our realities and these realities, and they don't even realize they're holographic inserts, but they could be holographic inserts put in our realities to trip us up and keep us bonded down into this low density too. I mean, these are all things to think about. I mean, the world, there's so much more than what we know. We can look at anything. I mean, the biggest mistake you can ever make is looking at any situation and go, well, it's this or it's that, or it's black or it's white, when it's never black or white or this or that, and nobody nevers or always is. I mean, it's
very complex, and no, like you said, no one knows everything, but we all have pieces of knowledge and understanding and insight that
exactly.
Picture, but no one has the whole picture.
And think about this too, Natalie, you know, as far as Billy Bob goes and his mission, I mean, most of the Billy Bobs I know are not bad people to know to if you need some advice on how to work on your car, or you need some advice how to chop a cord of wood, or I mean, you know, or how to, I don't know, the right way to
drink beer,
the right way to spit a chew grain out of your teeth. I don't know, you know. I mean, these are things that old Billy Bob can help us with.
Well, I guess too that in a way brings up, like, not to look down like at any mission.
Nope.
But you know, because we all have a purpose here, even if we don't, you know, if me or Larry don't see your purpose, you have a purpose. You know, if someone else outside of you doesn't see your purpose, doesn't mean you don't have a purpose.
No, it doesn't. I mean, your purpose could be working for some state entity or corporation, and your purpose may be to write a 20-page manual on the proper way of picking up cigarette butts in a company parking lot and disposing of them. I mean, you know, it could be that your mission is to help enlighten those to the proper way to bend and lift and the proper tools to use to scoop up cigarette butts. Yeah, I mean, everybody's here for a reason. There's definitely a time, a season, and a reason. And again, here we go again. I'm going to go back to going within, and you know, you're just you alone in that midnight hour, yet we're all one. And
but it actually gets kind of fun to investigate. I think it's fun to investigate our own energy. You know, what are the limits of how I can evolve? What are the limits of what's my superpower? That's a great question people should be asking themselves.
I think it is too. I think it's a great investigation. I think the only frustrating part about it sometimes is, of course, again, and not to keep picking on Billy Bob, it's just that yes, it does seem like at times we get a lot of Billy Bobs or people, souls of that ilk that get thrown in our path, and you know, that kind of makes it frustrating at times, but it's still all worthwhile, you know. So, but see, we're really expanding on these purposes that Billy Bob may have.
I'm interested in what you said about the holographic inserts. How do you, because I've met people before that I was just like, God, they don't seem to have a soul. You see, their eyes, it's freaky.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've been doing a little bit of research, and I briefly didn't touch on it as much as I'd wanted to on Lionel Victoria, and I had a show on it, and there was just so much to cover in a small time. But there's this thing out there there's a book out there called The Cameleo Project by a guy named Robert Guffey, and I had a chance to hear him interviewed by George Knapp on Coast to Coast, the guy who sits in for Nori once in a while, and I like George Knapp. He wrote a book called Skinwalker's Ranch that was really good, and that's another story. But this Cameleo Project is holographic inserts created by, it can be the government, it can be by extraterrestrials. And see, what the government likes to do is they like to go to places that have historically throughout eons had UFO sightings and had all kinds of spiritual things happen. You know, even back in the times hundreds of years ago where, you know, it couldn't have been a government holographic insert, but yet the government has the technology to manipulate those same kind of events in the sky or in front of us, and they will do that. But anyway, these holographic inserts, okay, the guy gave an example of Okay, this is just kind of a funny example. He was getting ready to go out to lunch one day with his girlfriend, and they met this gentleman on the train and got to talking. And this gentleman decided, asked him if he could buy them lunch, and so they agreed to it. And as they're waiting to go into this restaurant for lunch, this guy starts asking him the most bizarre questions like, oh, do you believe in conspiracy theories? I do. And the response given back by this guy was, no, not really into them. And then the guy goes, well, I really love George W. Bush. He's a great president. Don't you think so? And then the guy says, oh, yeah, I love George W. Bush. He's great. And he said the reaction that he got after answering these questions like that was like this guy would just look at him kind of funny, like it wasn't the answer that he was expected to be given. So he just kept going on.
Oh, yes, yes.
And I felt like, and I heard that show, and I'm like, oh my God, I swear to God, I've been in a couple of situations like that. I got this guy that comes into my work once in a while who is a really nice old guy, but I started hearing that, and then it's like this movie scene where all of a sudden this light came on in my head, and I saw a picture of this guy, and then I got to thinking, I'm like, oh my God. And then there's been other situations like I've been at the store, whatnot, and just fluke scenarios. Somebody will start talking to me about something, and I'll start giving my take and opinion on it, and maybe holding back a little or giving a response that I think that I initially thought that they might want to hear, so I don't want to offend them, but then getting this look from them, just this smiling, blank-eyed grin of not expecting me to put it that way. So it's really bizarre. And I think that can happen, and I think, there's this new term that they're talking about called gang stalking, and not like being stalked by the Bloods and the Crips.
I've never heard that. Explain.
Gang stalking. It's not the Bloods and the Crips coming for you. It's something much worse. It's a mental thing where you may have holographs put in your reality. You may be driving down the freeway and be a victim of this gang stalking, right? And you may all of a sudden just see an enormous amount of red sports cars coming your way in the other lane. Like every fifth or sixth car is some red sports car. And these are things that are just coming to your perception. Or everywhere you go, there seems to be a funny car like down the street parked, or any store you go in, major store, all of a sudden you see certain types of people come in there. And just these mental games. Or all of a sudden, like say you live in a neighborhood, you just rent an apartment somewhere or something, and say all of a sudden people start acting different towards you. And it's not anything you can put your finger on or even have the nerve to really even ask them, hey, did I do something wrong? What's going on here? It's so subtle, yet it plays with your mind. Like all of a sudden your landlord or your neighbors or people at the corner store that you normally have been frequenting for a small time, they start acting a little bit different towards you because I don't know, maybe some energy's been projected into you that messes with their energy, and it's just something that you can't quite put your finger on. Yet we all know as Blu-rays though that we have that effect on people anyway at times throughout our life.
Yeah.
So the government and these powers that be really are mimicking these natural states of consciousness and these natural visuals that we've seen for hundreds of years from the sky or around us. Like with cloaking technologies, a big thing he was talking about, of course, was the cloaking technologies where, it was really explained very simple. A suit that somebody may have on that just all it does is retracts and reflects the environment around them and behind them. So you see it as a clear object, and those can also come into your perception as dark orbs, dark type orbs, not colorful ones that you get a good feeling from, but like darker orbs. Or this guy was talking about a scenario where he saw one in his bathroom mirror, and the way he explained that he was able to do that is because the mirror itself wasn't cloaked. So just out of the corner of his eye, out of the corner of the mirror, he caught somebody staring at him. And and are these people crazy? Are these people crazy? Are these there's so many stories out there about it. Are these people crazy, or do they prey on people that aren't maybe what you would call as of sane mind? So that just feeds into it more. Or better yet, he was talking about,
or that can see them.
Yeah, he was talking about coastal cities around the world being targeted by these gang stalking government entities. It's just really bizarre, but it really hit home when he was talking about the holographic insert of somebody just starting a conversation with him and asking the most bizarre, random, weird questions. And then when he didn't get the answer that he thought you were going to give, they just give you that look like they don't know what to ask next. So they just pop off at the mouth with another barrage of these weird questions.
Mm. Yeah, but like, so the only way that you know is that, like, to me, is their eyes too. They
Yes. Yeah, the blank look. It doesn't
the
have to be
blank
some
look.
right,
Yeah.
a blank look. It doesn't have to be some. I want people to understand. It doesn't have to be like you look in their eyes and you see like their eyes light up red or they look like a lizard. Although that could be the case at times, but it's more of a feel, and you look into their eyes and it's like you're just staring through into nothing.
Yeah, there's no soul. Back to the soul. There's no soul there.
Yeah, it's not like you're looking into their eyes like I might look into Sif's eyes and say, oh, baby, I can see forever in your eyes and I can see the universe in your eyes. It's not like that. It's like looking into those same eyes and seeing
It's like looking at a
literally.
TV screen. And,
Yeah, TV. There you go.
flat.
Exactly, Natalie. A TV screen, right? Or just the feeling that you're seeing into nothing.
And I think I read somewhere about that there were, God, now I can't remember. Shoot, I'm sorry. I had something
That's
there,
okay.
and
We don't
it
exist
was
in
something
time.
about souls when they reincarnate. That there's some souls that when we die, that they, let's say, go back to their soul family, go over what their mission is, and now I'm going to say, and rip up all contracts. And then there's other souls that are looped that never get to go to that place and go back to their soul family, and they're the ones that are supposedly are the angriest.
Yeah, and you know
They
that ties
die
in.
and they're
Yeah,
put right back. They don't even get any like space or get to go
nothing.
back to their soul family. No wonder they're furious and
And they're used for
used.
that dark
Yeah,
mission. They're used to be put into lives of souls that
that have been severely
yeah.
traumatized, and
Right.
they just then keep traumatizing others because they're traumatized. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
I don't
they
know what
spoke
kind of
about that
soul
too.
contract like that. Those type of people need a lot of soul contracts revoked, null and voided, and revoked and torn up.
Yeah, they're going to need to get Johnny Cochran to be their attorney on this one to get that one null and voided. Bring him back bring his
Yeah,
soul back. Yeah, that's pretty heavy stuff.
it is, because like I when I read that, I could feel it. I could feel the truth in it, and I thought, yeah, that must be hell. To
That's truly
they
hell. That's how he described it. Those people truly are in what you would consider, what we would think of as hell. They truly are, because they're forced into kind of a Akashic slavery. There's
yeah.
a term, Akashic slavery, but yeah, they're forced into that, right? For something that they're debt that they're supposedly think they need to pay off, or maybe they made one deal and they got one little thing coming to them,
And
but
then they accumulate all that karma and the negative traumatic life that they are reborn into, and then die again, and then reborn into another one, generate more negative karma. They're never going to get ahead. They have no
yeah, they're repeating the
chance.
same step over and over again. They're trying to climb they're trying to climb a big set of stairs, and all they do is go up one, back one, up one, back one,
Yeah.
up, and on and on and on, and it just never stops.
And like those ones, I really feel for those souls, because they need a break. And I know a lot of people would be like, well, they're doing horrible stuff, or they're murderers or rapists or pedophiles. Yeah, I don't like their actions in 3D world either.
Right.
But at the soul level, these souls are severely traumatized.
Yeah, I don't subscribe. People that get caught up in that they need to see, that goes back into they've got a pay mentality. I was on a rant with Sif about this the other night. We've got that with people that are locked up in jails, especially in the United States. And I'm not talking about people that haven't done any violent crimes. Those people should not. There should be no such thing as a jail for somebody that has not been involved in a violent offense. I don't give a
Yeah,
shit if
I
cheating on
agree.
your taxes, embezzling, drug dealing, whatever the case may be. So you rip somebody off. So fucking what? Big deal. The person can get over it. even people that are, say, child molesters, right, and repeat murderers, violent, the key to that is getting them away from people so they can't do those things again to people here on earth.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you throw them in a hole, you degrade them, you just give them what they need to be comfortable, but make sure that they cannot be around other people anymore. Because what does it say about us? What good is it going to do to make them pay? We need to be more of a responsive instead of a reactive society, which hopefully we're moving towards. But we get into this making them pay. I'm going to make them pay. Well, you're no better than a child molester or a genocidal murderer if you're stuck in that mentality of making somebody pay when, okay, it's one thing to get rid of the problem and remove the problem from an area where they can hurt anybody again, but it's a whole nother thing when you're stuck in this mentality of making them pay. Oh, I've got to make them pay.
They
And
say
for what?
there was a recent study it was in the Guardian or the BBC that said children of religious Christian and Muslim families were less altruistic and more punitive when perceived indiscretions were done, like when perceived harm was done, even just in interpersonal. Religious people and children born in religious families were meaner and wanted to make them pay, and they said it got worse as the people got older. The older religious Christian and Muslim, it's almost across all religions, they looked at all, they really want people to pay for their crime, and even if it's something small.
Oh yeah, they want them to make them pay, and it gets worse as they get older, as they go into the program more and more.
Yep. I was going to mention to you, because I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but have you ever heard of the Brehon laws, which were the old laws in Ireland before the English took over?
No, but I think I know somebody named Brandon in one of our groups that would probably know about it.
Yeah,
I know
Brandon. I know Brandon. Brehon is Brehon. These laws, they would have courts, traveling courts. Most of the people in the town would be a part of it, and they'd elect, whoever part of the court. They had no jails. Even like murder, actually, the person would have to pay a financial fine to the family. If they were found guilty, they didn't have to go to jail. They'd have to pay the family.
Right.
And they had very little crime, and they had no prisons. Because if people had to pay, then they just didn't do the crime.
Well, certainly in 3D, certainly in 3D, that would be the better way to probably handle it. Although, in a system where there is no money and should be no money.
That's true.
Again, too, if there is a system, right, where there's no money, a lot of these things are eliminated anyway, because when people's needs are met, when people's needs are truly, truly met, and people are allowed to be their own sovereign beings, I think that we would find that these kind of deplorable acts would be very, very, very few and far between.
Oh, definitely.
Because economics and your social economical environment growing up, all these things that can play contributing factors into keying these things into motion, if they're eliminated, well, I mean, you may get a bad the bad apples that would slip through would be so few and so rarely few and far between that it really would be less of a statistic than even 0.1%.
And like that, it's when your needs are met. All needs are met, that there's no need to harm someone else. A lot of harm is done because a lot of people's needs aren't met, or they perceive their needs aren't met.
Exactly. And then that doesn't get other people into that ignorant mode of, oh, they've got to pay.
Yeah.
Boy, they're going to pay for what they've done. Now, yeah. Now, on the other hand, I have no problem with a person, a civilian on their own taking upon themselves to, I'm just going to come right out and say it, go right out and plug somebody right in the head that maybe murdered a family member of theirs or hurt somebody of theirs. But what I don't like is the government or any kind of controlling body having any sort of control over it. You know what I mean? And then again, I'm not advocating vigilantism either. But what I'm saying is, once that's been done, I'm not of the mindset of, oh, well, boy, that was the wrong way to go about it. Oh, well, you know, you can't do that. We've got to set the example for other situations and make an example out of this. I don't like doing that. I don't like examples just because, you know, well, you know, we shouldn't do too much to them, but yet we've got to set the example and show that this can't be tolerated. I don't subscribe to that mentality either. I think that's a very ignorant, kind of a closed-minded way of looking at things, and a very lazy, unimaginative, uncreative way of handling things as well.
Yes,
Very
it's like
stupid.
very unimaginative. You know, like there's so much more we could do to help these people who are committing crimes, but
Yeah,
the system is creating
it is.
criminals. So right now, people are like, "What the hell are you? What the fuck are you talking about? You know, there's criminals everywhere." Yeah, because the system's creating it. But once
It
that
is, and then
system's
they
done,
feed into people's fears too. It's like and I brought this up on shows. This is not going to be the most popular thing to say, but you get some organization that started in the early 80s, like a Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Well, on one hand, where were these mothers to be involved before somebody in their family was impacted or killed? I mean, so it just goes to show you they're selfish within that as far as that goes. But two, unfortunately what these dear souls don't understand is that they're getting part of a cause that's going to ask for a law to be created, which is going to ask for 1,000 more laws to be created to close up 1,000 loopholes in that law. And all it ends up becoming, right, it doesn't do anything to solve the problem at the end of the day. All it does is become a moneymaker.
a moneymaker. And then, I remember reading a case in, I think it was Texas, where a rich kid plowed and killed, drunk driving, killed 3 people or 4, and got away with nothing. You know, it's
Yeah, and I don't
punitive
have
to
so
the
much.
people that are not rich.
Well,
You know, the
that's exactly it.
system has all
I
the
don't have a
loopholes for the
problem.
rich.
I don't have a problem with going easy on him because of what he did. I have a problem because, right, if he wasn't rich, somebody else that did a whole hell of a lot less collaterally damage-wise that wasn't of that economic group, they would be hung and put out to dry.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly. Yeah, it's a very unfair system. Um, Listen, Larry, shall we wrap up? I don't know if Bridget is, what's
I
going
don't
on with
think Brit.
Bridget this week, but I know she'll be back next week. But
I don't think people. Yeah. I think Bridget will be back next week, and we were going to maybe talk about Tesla.
yeah, I'd love to have a show about Tesla and about his inventions. Even you could talk a lot. Do you know stuff about Tesla too, Larry?
I do know about thrice as much as I know about this subject we're talking about today. Plus, I know of a couple people I could put some fillers out there and see if they
Oh,
would be
cool.
interested in maybe coming on and talking with us a little bit about
Mm-hmm.
something like that, right? And I just want to touch on real quick that what we were talking about, though, real quick, Natalie, before we wrap up, that last example we gave about that rich kid in Texas, right? That you said he got drunk and he killed 3 people. Well, you know, this is not going to be the most popular thing to say, but the person I feel sorry for more so than any of those people that are dead, more so than any of those families that have to grieve, is I feel sorry for that person who has to wake up and realize that they did that and not have any memory of it, maybe because they were so drunk and blacked out, or that they remember vaguely any part of it. That is the soul that I truly feel sorry for. Those other people will get over it.
Yeah. No, he's tortured and
Totally.
living in an inner hell anyway.
Yes.
You know, so yeah, and next week, Tesla. I actually don't know much, but I read something recently that really sparked. It was like some interview he did, and kind of the English is a little bit old because it was like, you know, early
Hear
1900s.
ye, hear ye.
Yeah, but he said that he heard the music of the spheres, and I hear that stuff, and I know you do too.
Yes.
And I just thought, oh, I love him. I love Tesla.
You remember where you read that at? I'd love to be able to read to.
Yeah, you know what? I think I posted it on my Starseed Shaman page, and so I'll tag you on that article.
Okay.
It's I'll have to go on that page And yeah, I'll just go ahead as we wrap up. Tell people where they can find me. They can find me on Starseed Shaman on Facebook. Me and Larry and Bridget, we have loads of Facebook pages and groups if people listening want to join. So there's like Pleiadians plus Attitude plus Pleiadian Star Family. I don't even know the name of my own
Get
group.
your own group, girl.
Pleiadian and Star Family Lightworkers. No, Healers, Lightworkers, and Shamans.
Yes.
And I'm on Twitter, Alaya Healing, and my website is alayahealingservices.com. And please contact me if you're interested in a healing or a reading or getting rid of a soul contract.
Exactly.
Over to you, Larry.
And of course, I'm yours truly, Rocken, Larry Locken, your host with the most from coast to coast and all that good stuff. You can find me at the places, of course, Natalie mentioned. You can find me on Leah Shapiro's Pleiadians group, Fringe Thinkers, and Lionel Anderson's NWO Freedom Fighters, Victoria Pleiadians Alternative Pleiadians, also at the litany of regional Pleiadian groups.
There's about 40 now.
40 of them, yes, as well as a litany of pages, maybe 15 or so pages, as well as you can also find me on the YouTube and Google Plus channels, Pleiadian Light Grid Project, as well as Pleiadian Express Productions, and also our brand new website that Natalie, yes, the great Natalie Alaya created for us. God, it's brilliant. It's just...
I did it. I really was proud of myself at that
Hell
website.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
You should pat yourself on the back doubly and twice.
I am. Both shoulders.
yeah. And keeping in mind when it was so sweet of Natalie to do this for me, and when she was making it, I'm like, God, it's cool. I'm gonna have this website, and I thought, oh, it's gonna look okay and everything. But then I went to it and I was fucking blown away. So yeah, you really did a great job, and I guess I should mention.
I made it very simple. I tried to keep it very simple.
I guess I should mention how to get there.
Yeah.
You want to type in Pleiadian Express pro.wix.com.
Yeah, they wouldn't. It's no. I'll tell people where it is. It's Larry Locken.
Yes.
.wix.com, and then there's a slash, and I'll have a link. Pleiadian Express Pro. Because it would not give the whole title. You couldn't fit the whole title in. So Larry Locken, if you even just type up larrylocken.wix.com, you will find the Pleiadian Express Productions.
Thank you, Natalie, for bailing me out on that one. I've got it saved to my links on both my laptop and PC. So, yeah, it's what Natalie said. And with that being said, a big cosmic dating game kiss to everybody out there. Mwah. And that's a wrap.